Welcome back. FBI Director James Comey may be prosecuted himself in some regard, if we are to believe an angry letter from Senate Minority Leader Harry Reid. Reid says that his office is investigating whether Comey violated the Hatch Act, which bars federal officials from using their authority to influence an election. Did Comey alter the course of the 2016 race? And will he pay for it? Joining me now is Fox News senior judicial analyst Judge Andrew Napolitano. A lot of outrage on the left about Comey's letter on Friday to Congress saying that the investigation is in fact moving forward because of some emails they found on an unrelated laptop.
I am not on the left, but as you know, I share that outrage. This is a violation of due process by putting out there the tantalizing hint that we may have something on Mrs. Clinton, but we won't tell you or her what it's about. It violated Justice Department regulations and FBI regulations that prohibit any public statement connecting a person whose name is on a ballot to a criminal investigation within 60 days of the election. But it did not violate the Hatch Act, and it is not an independent prosecutable crime. The Hatch Act is a federal statute that prohibits everybody who works for the federal government, except for the president and the vice president, from campaigning for candidates while in office on federal property and using federal assets. Yeah. Now, as wrong as Jim Comey was to have sent that letter on Friday.
What does he do, though? I mean, what does he do? Because if he's got 650,000 emails and he withholds them until after the election, and you said today on Outnumbered that if Hillary Clinton is elected president and she is in fact sworn in, she cannot be charged with a crime or convicted of a crime while she's the sitting president.
That is correct, but his is not a job of transparency. It is not the FBI's job to expose the misdeeds of political candidates so people can evaluate those candidates.
So the FBI agent should have been actively investigating without making it public that they were continuing with the investigation.
Precisely. That's what the law says. That's what the law always has been. He made two announcements as FBI director which are utterly unprecedented. The first, which you and a lot of our colleagues condemned, on July 5, where he said there's not enough evidence to convict, and then proceeds to describe a mountain of evidence against Mrs. Clinton. Yeah. I think that statement caused such an uproar in the FBI. The pressure was on him to try and correct it. Hence the letter he sent on Friday, which in my view has made things worse. It's like the cover-up being worse than the crime.
So he's got to pacify his agents, who are clearly upset that the original investigation was mishandled. They've also been investigating the Clinton Foundation. They were shut down by the Justice Department. The Attorney General met with the spouse of the woman who's running for president, who's also a former president, right, who also, their longtime henchman, who's the governor of Virginia, is also being investigated.
This is terrific.
Gave $500,000 to the campaign of the FBI deputy director's wife. Yeah.
You just summarized, without coming up for air, the case against this Justice Department in a brilliant way, if I may. This Justice Department might as well be called the Department of Political Justice, which is what Bill Sapphire used to call the Justice Department in the Jimmy Carter administration. The Justice Department must resist the temptation to be too political. Did Mrs. Lynch, did the Attorney General recuse herself from this case? Yes and no. She took herself off the case. Did she sign the papers of recusal, which would have barred anybody in the Justice Department from talking to her? No. She's now back on the case, because when Jim Comey said, hey, boss, here's what we have, I'm going to go public with it, she said, no, you can't. If she was off the case, she shouldn't have been involved in it at all. Where do we stand? Well, the FBI, which got a search warrant for the contents of the Wiener Humadun laptop on Sunday night, is now going through the 650,000 emails. How did they get that search warrant? Did they go to a federal judge saying, we're still investigating Hillary? No. They went to a federal judge and said, this lady told us that she gave us all of her emails. We stumbled upon 650,000 emails, many of which she didn't give to us. We need to investigate her to see if she lied to us. Give us a search warrant to read the emails. Is there a mention of Mrs. Clinton in that? No, there's not. Is there a mention of Mrs. Clinton in Director Comey's letter to the members of Congress? There isn't, but it's very, very clear what he's talking about. I mean, this is like Franz Kafka's The Trial. You're on trial. We won't tell you what the charge is. We won't tell you what the evidence against you is, but we'll let you know when you're convicted. Yeah. Mrs. Clinton we're going to keep investigating you, and we've got some new stuff on you. We won't tell you what it is. We just want the public to know it.
Sounds like
that is not due process in America.
No, it sounds like what we were outraged over in the case of the Americans being held by Iran. And, you know, it's happening in this country. I don't have a ton of sympathy for Hillary Clinton.
No, I don't either. But she has constitutional rights like everybody else in America.
That. Yep. And those have to be protected. They have to be fought for. And everyone in the Justice Department has to follow the letter of the law. It seems like they are acting as shields when it's convenient.
To every one of our colleagues and to every supporter of Donald Trump who was rejoicing at what Jim Comey did, I warn you, this could happen the other way around, when the FBI director is someone who goes after somebody else that you really like.
Absolutely. And look how both parties have flipped. Democrats' elation has turned to depression overnight. We'll see if it affects the election.
Right.
Judge, thank you so much.
Oh, it's always a pleasure.
Yeah, appreciate you being here.
I love that Halloween dress.
Yeah.
Not only orange, but the microphone is black.
Gotta celebrate.
All right.
Even in the face of strangers.
Happy Halloween.
Me too.